Hi, warm greetings to all of you. Welcome back to BION, the channel that shares knowledge on holistic self-development through great books. Today, I'd like to share with you a very bold book. Bold in the sense that it points directly at you and me with a striking truth, that we may very well be extremely ignorant people in this era. An era of information explosion, technology, and ever-evolving artificial intelligence. But this boldness is backed by solid research and statistical evidence. If you want to rise above yourself, acknowledge your limitations and be ready to break them in order to make a simple but fundamental shift that can upgrade both yourself and your life in this new era. Then let us explore today. Book together. Asterisk Head in the Cloud Asterisk by William Poundstone. The literal translation of the title is The Brain in the Cloud. This implies that our minds are often shrouded by foggy clouds that obscure clarity and block our progress without us even realizing it. Now, let's dive in and listen. Are you someone who is super ignorant in this era? The author presents a provocative idea. This is the era in which humans are the most lacking in knowledge and understanding. You might immediately disagree and wonder, how can that be? Isn't this the golden age of knowledge, where information is more accessible than ever? People nowadays pay more in annual tuition for courses and online subscriptions than many people in the past would have spent in an entire lifetime of learning. So, why would anyone call this the most ignorant era in human history? It's true that people today have easier access to knowledge than any generation before us. We have the entire internet in our pockets. But at the same time, the number and sheer depth of knowledge fields have grown at a staggering, exponential pace. This is truly an era of a knowledge explosion. It has become impossible for any single individual, no matter how diligent or intelligent they might be, to fully grasp even a relatively narrow field of study, let alone the vast expanse of human knowledge. Moreover, the nature of knowledge itself is no longer fixed or stable. What is accepted as scientific fact today may be proven false tomorrow. New discoveries constantly overturn old theories, and established truths are revised or discarded. Faced with this vast and uncertain ocean of knowledge, our individual pace of learning is painfully slow. We are like small boats trying to navigate an ever-expanding sea. Yet, despite this, many of us take surprisingly little initiative to seek out new information or update our existing knowledge base. The result of this growing gap between available knowledge and what we actually know is alarming. People in modern society are becoming increasingly ignorant and uninformed in more and more areas. This isn't just a vague feeling. It's backed by data. For example, consider a survey conducted in the United States back in September 2010. The findings were quite revealing about the state of general knowledge. A staggering 41% of American adults could not name the vice president at the time. When it came to basic science, 20% of respondents believed that lasers work by focusing sound waves. In the realm of classic literature, 58% didn't know who wrote the famous novel, Moby-Dick. And, in a particularly surprising twist, 4% even thought the author was the modern horror writer Stephen King. This data clearly demonstrates a widespread level of ignorance within American society. And if a similar survey were to be conducted in other developed nations, the results might not look much better. We are all susceptible to these knowledge gaps. To investigate this phenomenon further, the author and his research team carried out their own large-scale survey in the U.S. They designed a series of questions intended to determine whether people met a basic standard of being knowledgeable in a general sense. Some of these questions included fundamental facts from various domains. Where is the cradle of human civilization? On which continent is Egypt located? Who first used hieroglyphics? Why is it daytime in some places on Earth and nighttime in others? Why was Pluto reclassified from a planet to a dwarf planet? What was the historical significance of the Industrial Revolution? Through what route did Christianity spread to the Near East? Why is the heart considered a special organ in the human body? What is the name for signals coming from land to ships at sea? What is the significance of July 4th in the United States? For a citizen of another country, a similar question would be asked, such as what is the meaning of September 2nd? For Vietnam, these are, by most standards, the most basic pieces of general knowledge that one might expect an educated person to know. Some might even look at this list and think the questions are far too easy. But in reality, the situation isn't so optimistic. The survey results show that even the best performing respondents could only answer about 7 out of the 10 questions correctly. When confronted with these results, many people object, saying, "But these facts are useless in my daily life. We can just Google them whenever we need to know." This line of thinking, however, is a classic sign that you've likely fallen into what psychologists call the Google effect. This is the tendency to rely so heavily on search engines that our brains no longer feel the need to commit information to memory. We know the information is easy to find online, so we don't bother to truly learn and retain it. Yes, with just a few clicks, we can look up almost anything we need. But this overlooks a crucial aspect of how learning works. Knowledge is hierarchical. Advanced understanding in any subject is built upon a foundation of basic concepts and facts. Without those foundational basics stored in your mind, even if you can look something up, you won't be able to truly grasp its meaning or connect it to a wider context. Furthermore, in our daily lives, we make countless decisions, both big and small. Each of these decisions requires some level of knowledge to judge the situation wisely. Without a solid foundation of general knowledge, even the internet can't always prevent you from making poor choices, because you won't have the context to evaluate the information you find. The book shares a compelling example of this. Many people have come to believe that gluten causes diabetes, which has led to a boom in brands advertising gluten-free products. Now, imagine you are standing in a supermarket aisle before 2 bags of potato chips. One is prominently labeled gluten-free and has a slightly higher price. The other, a standard bag, has no such label. Which one would you choose? Most people, influenced by popular health trends, would likely pick the gluten-free chips, assuming they are the healthier option. But this choice is a mistake caused by a simple lack of knowledge. The truth is, gluten is a protein found in wheat and barley. It does not naturally exist in potatoes. Both bags of potato chips are inherently gluten. The label is just a marketing gimmick, preying on consumer ignorance. Even more serious than this is a deeper problem. Many forms of knowledge cannot be easily Googled. Without a foundational understanding, you may not even know that certain concepts or facts exist. If you are unaware of a concept, how could you possibly know the right keywords to search for it in the first place? The author calls this profound emptiness of the mind's superignorance. Superignorance means not knowing that you don't know. In other words, it's being completely unaware of your own lack of knowledge. The person who stays in this state for too long often falls victim to a well-documented cognitive bias known as the Dunning-Kruger effect. This is the behavioral paradox in which those with the least ability in a particular area are the most likely to overestimate their own One classic study illustrated this perfectly. A large group of university students were asked to grade their own exams after taking them. The students who scored the highest tended to predict their performance accurately, with some even slightly underrating their scores. But the students who scored the lowest consistently gave themselves surprisingly high marks, believing they had performed much better than they actually did. The same phenomenon happens in real life all the time. Think about how many poor drivers are utterly convinced that they are excellent at driving. This isn't just simple arrogance, it's the Dunning-Kruger effect, born from an empty mind lacks the necessary tools for accurate self-assessment, which leads to illusions of competence and consistently poor judgment. When in this state of superignorance, people become easily manipulated by what are known as cultural memes, patterns of cultural information that are passed from person to person. These memes can lock individuals into rigid frameworks of thinking, blind them to the reality of a situation, and make them feel complacent and self-satisfied with their limited worldview. Because they are both ignorant and complacent, people often create justifications for their lack of knowledge. The author terms this behavior rational ignorance. This is the act of convincing oneself that not knowing something is perfectly reasonable and acceptable. One clear sign of rational ignorance is the belief that learning something is unnecessary if the perceived costs such as time, effort, or money seem to outweigh the immediate benefits, which are often measured only in financial terms. For example, back when many of us were in school, we were often told by adults, only subjects like math, physics, and chemistry can make you rich. Literature, history, and geography are useless for your career. Even today, you can hear many people dismiss poetry, art, or philosophy as a complete waste of time. They prefer to read only books on practical skills, business strategies, or how to achieve success, believing these are the only valuable forms of knowledge. This mindset has ingrained the belief that it is better to master one specific trade than to dabble in many different subjects. But is that really true in our modern world? To answer this question, the author conducted numerous surveys and studies to determine whether general foundational knowledge is truly necessary and, if so, how it affects a person's quality of life, work, and thinking processes. The results of this research are compelling. They show that in today's world, a world where specific information is so easily accessible, it is those individuals with broad knowledge in diverse fields like literature, history, geography, culture, finance, and even sports who tend to live wealthier, healthier, and happier lives. Their broad knowledge base allows them to see connections, make better decisions, and adapt more effectively to a rapidly changing world. In reality, those who lack broad, foundational knowledge often face more financial difficulties in life. To prove it, these researchers selected a large group of people, all around 35 years old, each with a similar level of university education. They were then asked a series of questions across many different fields to test their general knowledge. The results were striking. This curiosity drives them to seek knowledge across many fields. This proactive mindset helps them spot opportunities to increase their income and perform better in their work. As their income rises, they can invest in further expanding their knowledge, creating a powerful, positive cycle of lifelong learning. The second point is that those who lack knowledge often live further away from happiness. And as you might guess, happiness is closely tied to income. This insight comes from research by Nobel Prize-winning psychologist Daniel Kahneman, who found that Americans reported the highest levels of happiness when their income reached around $75,000 per year. Beyond this level, more money doesn't significantly increase happiness, it can even reduce it slightly. But for those with too little income, life becomes filled with worry and frustration. As seen in the earlier survey, people with strong knowledge averaged $95,000 per year, a level that could comfortably sustain their happiness. In contrast, those with poor knowledge earned only about $40,000, leaving them to grapple with stress and insecurity. The old saying proves true: poverty breeds desperation, and desperation can breed wrongdoing. Another study showed that those who lack knowledge are more likely to act against their conscience in the pursuit of wealth. In one survey, people were asked a hypothetical question. If there were a button that could instantly make you a billionaire, but pressing it would randomly kill a stranger and no one would ever know you did it, would you press it? It may sound absurd, but reality often follows the so-called one-fifth principle. No matter how irrational a proposition, about 20% of people will agree or act accordingly. And indeed, about 20% said they would press the button. Shockingly, These were the same people who had scored the lowest on the general knowledge test. The third point is that people with stronger general knowledge usually enjoy better health. Why? Because they understand basic biomedical facts, for example, the link between H. pylori bacteria and stomach ulcers, what carbohydrates are, or how gluten affects the body. Thanks to this, they don't panic or get misled by the constantly changing waves of health information online. Instead, they know how to choose scientific, sensible methods suited to their personal health needs. And finally, one crucial point we must face: a lack of knowledge doesn't just harm your personal life, it also negatively impacts others, your community, and even the world. The author of one study conducted a survey with 16 general knowledge questions, 2 of which were about Ukraine's location. Afterward, participants were asked a policy question. Do you agree with building a border wall to stop illegal immigration? The results were telling. The more correct answers people gave, the more they opposed the wall. Conversely, those who couldn't even find Ukraine on a map were more likely to support blocking vulnerable migrants. In short, a lack of knowledge, especially in geography, history, and society, directly shapes political views and policy decisions. Many people don't even realize the blind spots in their knowledge. They don't know the extent of what they don't know yet. They confidently voice opinions and cast votes. Unknowingly, they make misguided choices that can shape the future of an entire nation or even the world. Worse still, in today, where anyone can hide behind a keyboard and freely speak their mind, the ignorance of some can unintentionally destroy lives. For example, in 2015, comedian Jay Branscombe posted a behind-the-scenes photo of legendary director Steven Spielberg on Facebook. The picture showed Spielberg sitting beside a Triceratops prop from the movie Jurassic Park *. Branscombe jokingly captioned it, "A vile trophy hunter proudly poses with his latest kill. Share this so the world knows this coward." The post went viral, shared over 30,000 times, and attracting tens of thousands of furious comments. People were outraged, asking, how could a famous director hunt and kill a triceratops? Of course, you may laugh at this absurdity. Dinosaurs have been extinct for millions of years. How could anyone believe otherwise? But this is the reality of Many people didn't even know what a triceratops was. They failed to recognize a movie prop and assumed Spielberg had killed some bizarre, real-life creature. This is just one of countless cases where people don't realize they don't know the truth behind the information they consume online. Anything you say or share out of ignorance can seriously harm others, mental well-being, and your own reputation. This is the danger of global ignorance in today's information-overloaded age. So, what is the core solution to break free from this state of super-ignorance? The most essential way to overcome it is: here is the short video copy based on the topic and outline you provided. Have you ever felt overwhelmed by the sheer amount of information out there? Yet still feel like you don't know enough? This feeling of super-ignorance is common, but there is a fundamental way to break free and build a broad base of knowledge that helps you live more wisely and happily. The key is to start by grasping essential knowledge anchors. While developing deep expertise in one specialized field is valuable, the core message we're re-exploring today is a bolder piece of advice. Learn in a more complex, diverse way. It's okay even if you only know things halfway. This might sound strange, but it makes perfect sense in today's world. In the past, learning was about preparing for what was already known. Today, learning is about preparing for the unknown. Each of us faces unique problems, and no one has all the ready-made answers. Think of it this way. Learning used to be for passing exams, but now, the best way to learn is to think like a detective solving a case. A good detective never ignores a clue, no matter how small. Every hint is valuable and contributes to solving the mystery. The more perspectives you have, the more you can escape the blind spots in your own mind and unlock new paths forward. The more of these knowledge anchors you have in your head, the better. These anchors allow you to trace connections, conduct further online research, solve problems, and unlock new areas of knowledge. Anyone who understands this will adopt a breakthrough learning method as a stepping stone for exponential growth in the digital era. The author of Superignorance suggests that in each field, we should aim to grasp at least 15 to 20 core concepts. For instance, in finance, you might learn about inflation and compound interest. In science, you could explore entropy and gravity. In history, understanding World War II and the Cold War provides crucial context. In psychology, concepts like herd mentality and the inferiority complex are fundamental. And in health, knowing about antibiotics and the principle of yin-yang balance can be transformative. These concepts are the anchors that help you search and connect information. Only when you possess these anchors can you effectively use research tools, specialized books, and academic articles. Without them, information remains a collection of scattered, disconnected pieces that are difficult to link together and easy to misinterpret. Another way to accumulate these knowledge anchors is by connecting with people who are skilled in different fields. This doesn't mean you need to become best friends with every expert. Simply maintaining a light relationship or following them online is often enough. When challenges arise, capable people often know exactly who to turn to for insights. They know who holds the crucial anchors. This is how they quickly find useful information and solutions, while those who lack this network tend to feel lost, fumbling for answers in confusion. The second step to break free from superignorance is this: don't just search for information. Make an effort to remember it. We've all experienced the Google effect, where we quickly forget information because we know we can easily look it up again. A classic example is students taking pictures of lecture slides. Many feel reassured, thinking, "I'll review it later," and so they don't listen carefully in the moment. But if you check your phone, how many of those slide photos have you never looked at again? A far more effective method is to resist the urge to take a photo immediately. Instead, focus on listening and keeping up with the speaker. Even handwriting notes is more effective than snapping a picture. The same principle applies to building understanding. Don't just search for clues, pay attention and actively commit them to memory. If you stop at searching, you'll remain overly reliant on technology. Use tools as an extension of your brain, but don't let them replace your own memory. For example, after searching for a concept, you can take notes, restate it in your own words, and review it periodically using spaced repetition. Bidointis, you won't just know what something is. You'll understand its essence and, most importantly, be able to recall and apply it instantly when needed. Finally, another crucial way to overcome superignorance is to develop your language ability. A study cited in the book found that people who pronounce words correctly and avoid spelling mistakes often earn higher incomes. The most direct way to improve your language skills is to fix misspellings and misuse of words, and to expand your vocabulary by constantly reading across different genres, especially literature. Practicing writing, even by starting a simple daily journal, is also highly effective. This is because language is not just a tool for expression. It's a tool for thinking. The richer and more precise your vocabulary, the easier it becomes to grasp the essence of problems. Conversely, vague speech often reflects vague and disorganized thinking. As Albert Einstein once said, if you can't explain something simply, you don't understand it well enough. When your language becomes more accurate and coherent, your thinking and expression will naturally become clearer and more profound. By building knowledge, anchors, committing information to memory, and refining your language, you can systematically dismantle superignorance and build a richer, more connected understanding of the world. The message this book conveys is not entirely new. It still revolves around the timeless encouragement to continuously learn and develop our thinking. In the past, many influential figures have promoted the idea of multidimensional thinking. For instance, Carol Dweck, the renowned psychologist behind the concept of the growth mindset, encouraged us to embrace diverse learning to overcome the limitations of a fixed mindset. Similarly, Robert Dilts, the NLP expert, proposed the 6 logical levels model, and Edward de Bono advocated for multidisciplinary thinking. However, all these approaches share a fundamental principle. To truly cultivate multidimensional thinking, one must delve deep. These methods are excellent, but they are not universally accessible. They demand a substantial foundation of knowledge and long-term persistence, requiring continuous reading across various disciplines and dedicated practice in critical thinking. The major difference with this book lies in its remarkable accessibility and ease of application. The method it presents is suitable for everyone, regardless of their background. Whether your knowledge base is currently weak or strong, whether you hold a university degree or not, you can begin updating your general knowledge. As long as you have a digital device and access to a search engine it doesn't demand profound depth. Even shallow learning is beneficial because what you accumulate are valuable knowledge nodes across different fields. These nodes serve as starting points, guiding you to explore further information online, self-verify through critical reflection, and, most importantly, ignite the flame of curiosity and the desire to learn. If your knowledge isn't yet solid, integrating and connecting these diverse points of information can become a life-changing learning method. If you are already an expert in a specific field, continuously broadening your knowledge across disciplines will help you break free from rigid thinking patterns, elevate your erudition, seize new opportunities, and ultimately improve your quality of life. The author of this book is himself the most vivid example of a journey from ordinary to extraordinary, demonstrating the power of this approach. Even now, at over 60 years old, he continues his lifelong learning journey. He began with a background in physics at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, but his intellectual curiosity led him to expand into mathematics, sociology, management, political science, and even literature. He has authored more than 14 books with diverse themes and styles, each one compelling readers to think deeply. His work has earned him the title of a best-selling king of intellectual thought, and he has been nominated twice for the Pulitzer Prize, a testament to his profound impact. I hope that today's sharing leaves within you an endless source of inspiration to keep learning. May you walk under the radiant sunshine on the path toward intellectual abundance, living with greater clarity, prosperity, and freedom. I encourage you to make use of technological advances in artificial intelligence to master your mind. Rather than becoming enslaved by digital tools, herd mentality, or the constant pull of material desires, learn a little each day, understand a little more each day. Though these steps may seem small, their daily accumulation creates a powerful compound effect that can completely transform your life. And these simple steps of yours may also contribute, in their own way, to breaking down the walls of global ignorance at its very roots. Thank you for listening. If you found this video helpful, please share it with those who might need it. Don't forget to give a like, hit subscribe, and turn on the notification bell to catch the latest videos every week. Once again, thank you and see you in the next video.